Okay, so we have so much benefits of these secondary batteries. These benefits can be grouped into two different categories, or the use of secondary batteries can be grouped into two distinct categories. The one category, as you see, is the category in which we want to use uninterruptible power supplies. So it means what? These secondary batteries are always integrated with the grid. Whenever grid goes off, that's the primary sources of energy supply to homes or hospitals or industries or so. If the primary supply, that's the grid power, goes off, immediately the secondary battery through this UPS or inverters, you get power supplied. It means that we will not even feel the power interruptions. So you get uninterruptible power supplies to the demand. This is one application. So secondary batteries are always integrated with the primary source of energy. And whenever these primary sources goes up, this energy or the capacity or the power from the energy storage device or secondary batteries is supplied to the demand, mostly for standby applications. So how long, sir? It depends on the capacity or the energy density of your battery pack that is integrated. A typical home may require maybe 2 kVA or 3 kVA, or maybe little higher, bigger home, maybe 5 kVA power supply required. So your battery pack should support for this much capacity or energy density, and also minimum of 6 hours to 12 hours. These days, power supply from the grid is much better, much better. So especially those who are in Pondicherry, you must be very thankful to the government. Almost uninterruptible power supply we get. Even in summer, usually in summer it goes up right in many places. So thanks to the Pondicherry Power Supply Corporation or whoever is responsible, reasonable power supply we get in Pondicherry. Maybe possible in all elsewhere also. But if the power supply goes, we don't know when it will come back sometimes. It may be 1 hour, 6 hours. If any disaster or any flood or a storm happened, or due to some maintenance, sometimes it may extend to 1 day, 2 days, 3 days or so. So then your storage capacity or the battery capacity should support for these many hours. These many hours. This is one distinct application. To get uninterruptible power supply, these secondary batteries are always integrated with the primary sources. Then another sources that just now we have seen. These are all not directly integrated with this primary sources. So they are simple separate entities. Maybe this equipment integrated with the rechargeable secondary batteries. And this is mobile, dynamic. So you charge this mobile, the capacity is roughly about 4000 watt. So completely charge it, disconnect from the power supply unit. So the battery is or the mobile is completely charged. State of charge is 100%. If you measure the OCV of the battery integrated in this mobile phone, you must read 4.2 voltage. And this is having lithium ion batteries. So then you start consuming this charge. It means you start using the apps. You call your friends, parents, or play games or movies. I'm not recommending all these things. That's what we do usually with these mobile phones, right? Okay, not more than calling, many other purposes only these days, these mobile phones are used. Of course, the major use for students are students and faculties like us, maybe taking classes or listening to the classes these days. Okay, so you consume it. What will happen? State of charge will decrease. It will decrease to 90 percentage. It will decrease to 20 percentage charge, 10 percentage. So then you get a warning. Your battery is going to drain. You get a warning. Sometimes if you don't have opportunity to charge it, you will go on consuming until the mobile goes up. Then what you do? Then you get an opportunity, or when you find the charging port or opportunity point, you keep it for charging. You charge it. So state of charge increases 10 to 20, 50, 60, 80, 100. Then now completely charged. Disconnect from the power supply unit. Then you start using. You see here, here the secondary battery finds its usage, but it is not connected to the primary source. But after exhausting all the charges that were stored in the charging, you keep it for charging and use it. How long you can use depends on the device, and it depends on the capacity or the energy density of your battery that is integrated. So for this application, it's mostly consumer electronics and sometimes maybe a dynamic vehicles. Of course, sometimes stationaries also. Movable UPSs or transferable UPSs, temporary UPSs. Okay, so in those places, these aspects of secondary battery application is used. Okay, so consumer electronics, mobile phones, laptop, camcorders, etc., electric vehicle, traction, industrial trucks, or sometimes some stationary applications. They are not connected to grid always. They are separate from the grid, but they get powered from the secondary batteries until the battery is having charge. Once they completely discharge it, we have to keep it charging and reuse it. This is another distinct applications. Any application you can group under these two categories. Whether you are using for UPS application or your mobile phone application, it can be grouped under any one of these two categories. So secondary battery finds such an application. Two distinct applications. Very important applications are essential application. It must hold some features. You cannot simply use all secondary batteries for the requirement. So it must have long shelf life. Unfortunately, all secondary batteries have a shelf life. Maybe lithium-ion battery is little less. All other batteries have much longer shelf life, very large shelf life. So it means what is shelf life? We have learned already in the first unit. You charge the battery, keep it on the shelf, almirah. Life in the almirah. And how long it can hold? That's the shelf life. It should hold for a long time. Primary batteries are very good in that. You make a primary battery today, assemble it and keep it on the shelf or almirah. It will stay there with 100% state of charge for years. How many years? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Even after 3 years, if we take and try to use, it will function. It will power the device. But secondary batteries, nowhere. Hardly 1 month. I already told that whenever you are buying emergency light or mobile phone, wherever secondary batteries are equipped, you are advised to charge the device or system or mobile phone, emergency light, lantern, etc. for 24 hours, then start using. This is the purpose of telling that. The battery integrated with that device would have been manufactured maybe a month before or 6 months before, sometimes a year before. And the very nature of the secondary battery is they lose the charge on self. Self discharge, self discharge reaction occurs inevitable in secondary batteries. They lose the energy, they lose the capacity, energy density. And also it should have long cycle life. Very expensive, right? Very expensive. A single mobile phone battery, at least 900 rupees, or maybe high capacity or higher energy density, some 2000 rupees. Maybe if you go for branded one, maybe little higher price also for a mobile phone. The battery for this mobile phone ranges from 1000 rupees to 3000 rupees, sometimes maybe little higher also. It's roughly about 30 to 40 percentage of the cost of this mobile. This mobile is about 10,000. I think it was 14,000. I'm not that much fascinated with this. 14,000 rupees, this mobile. 30 to 40 percentage of the cost of this mobile is given to your battery. If such a battery, if it is not possible to use it for 1000 times of charging and discharging or 2000, 3000 times, how one would afford to have that one? If it is a limited cycle life, how one would be practically adapt that battery? So long cycle life is important. What is cycle life? We have seen. One cycle is one charging and discharging. Before its capacity falls from 80 percentage of its ability. That is one cycle. We have seen it already. Like this, 1000 times, 2000 times, 3000 times, it must be possible to charge and discharge. It's not that all the batteries will be able to do charging and discharging 1000 times, 2000 times, 3000 times. There is a limitation depending on the batteries. Maybe lithium ion battery 1000 times, little higher than 2000 times you can. Lead acid battery maybe 800 times. Nickel metal hydride battery or secondary alkaline batteries maybe 600 times. That's the maximum. After that, you can still use it, but you will not be able to get the full capacity or full performance. Instead of 80 percentage capacity, maybe you may get 20 percentage, 30 percentage capacity. So your mobile phone, you will think that you will see that charge is peaked 100 percentage, but you will not be able to use it for more than 2 hours or 3 hours or so. Frequent charging you will have to do. It means that the cycle life has declined. Or maybe same with your laptop. Sometimes your laptop, not sometimes, many times, if you remove the grid, you will not be able to even use for half an hour or so. But your mobile, your laptop supposed to work for about 2 hours, depending on the capacity and energy density. Typically 2 hours, which consumes about 40 watt power. So depending on the capacity, so 2 hours it will work. But if the battery has gone bad, it will not work for even 30 minutes. Forget about now, many definitely. So I'm also facing. So sometimes if I don't have grid, if I try to use mobile phone, especially online classes, taking or listening meeting, online meeting, runs quickly, consumes quickly. Every day all of you are facing, and we are aware of that. There are several reasons why battery is getting drained quickly. You would see 100% state of charge, but within 10 minutes or within half an hour, within 1 hour, the capacity or you will see reads in the app that the charge is only 50% available. There are several reasons. Material might have undergone degradation. Material would have dissolved in the electrolyte, or morphology would have increased or changed. The electrolyte resistance would have increased. Corrosion would have happened. There are several reasons. Or maybe you would have dropped your mobile phone from a distance. That would have harmed the battery. Various reasons. And it should have high power densities. Required power density it should have. It may deliver 3.7 voltage, but the required current, if it is not supplying, it will not be possible to on your smartphone, or it will not be possible to on your laptop or any other device. Or if it is electric vehicle, it will not move. It will start, it may not move. The required power will not be there. It is not there. And the battery should be able to pick up the charge quickly. That was the problem. That is the still problem. Charging time of your electric vehicle is still the problem. Though there are some improvements has been made. So, so charging time is still a problem. Charging time is still a problem. What problem? It takes long time for charging. If you are traveling from maybe here Pondicherry to Chennai, it takes about 3 hours. By the time you reach midway, Kalpakam or nearby places, if all the charges are exhausted. Jay? Yes, yes, Jay. Hmm. Yes, yes, please. Yesterday I did. Please, please. Anyway, you please check any mistake or anything is there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it takes long time for charging. Instead of reaching 3 hours, if you have to spend 2 hours for charging, will it be practically feasible? No, definitely no. So the battery should be able to pick up the charge quickly. We have seen all these terminologies. Tolerance to service conditions. And if the batteries are used in mobile phone, the batteries are used in smartphone, batteries are used in electric vehicles. They all undergo different conditions. There are apps which consumes more power in mobile phone. When you are listening to this class, video class, it consumes definitely high power. Battery is getting drained quickly. You would have started with 100% taste of charge. The 1 hour of listening classes using your smartphone, more than 50% of charge would have lost in many cases, or at least 30-40% of charge would have lost. Otherwise, if you use it for only talking, you don't even use 10% of the state of charge. If it is electric vehicle, it is depending on the road condition or the land pattern or the uphill or downhill, etc. So it has to be operated. The vehicle has to be operated high acceleration or low acceleration, apply the brake, etc. Conditions are different. The battery should have a tolerance to deliver the performances at all conditions. That is the service condition. Sometimes the temperatures are different. Norway, very low temperature. Canada, very low temperature. In India, relatively high temperature. Some places, humid conditions. Temperature is very important. So we will lose the conductivity, or sometimes we will accelerate the unwanted reaction depending on the temperature. It will be frozen. The battery electrolyte will be almost frozen if the batteries are not isolated. The electrolyte will be frozen places like Norway or Canada. Very low temperature. And of course, it should have enough higher capacity or energy density and the capacity. All three are linked. High capacity and high voltage, you will be getting high energy density. They are linked. All these terminologies must be familiar to you now. Yes, right? Yes. So as I told, these secondary batteries are in existence for more than 100 years before itself, at least 100 years and over. And this secondary battery came into existence thanks to Plante's technology, Geston Plante, who invented this lead acid battery. And it is continued to rule the battery market even now. Even now, the major use of secondary battery is lead acid battery for all your UPS applications, standby applications, mobile tower, all those things. Your mobile phone uses lead acid lithium ion batteries, but mobile signal creation or generation, all those things, standby application is lead acid battery, mostly lead acid battery. And all UPSs, mostly lead acid battery. Now only some companies have started with lithium ion batteries. So still continue to rule the market. The secondary battery market is, as you see here, this is little old data, but now it is increased 20 billion annually, $20 billion annually. And now with the electric vehicle introduction or the policy of the electric vehicle, as many governments have introduced it, this number is going to increase, or the market is going to increase. I can tell 3,000 gigawatts of capacity or energy density is required by 2030 itself, according to Niti Aayog's estimation. But currently, more than 1 order less capacity only we are producing. The battery is produced. Huge demand for the batteries, or there is a huge demand for the battery market. Huge demand for, I'm not exaggerating, that's the fact brought out by the Niti Aayog, Government of India. And similarly, other nations. So this table is at least how many years? 20 years old data. That time itself, you see the market. Now, several times increased market you have. Okay, so 20 years before, this is the market for lithium ion battery. But now, these numbers are very much changed, increased. Tesla, which intend to use lithium ion batteries, in one charge, they want to drive for 800 kilometers. That's about 500 miles. They already brought out with some test vehicles. They already taken a booking for a delivery of their vehicles by 2024. Complete electric vehicles using lithium-ion batteries, in particular lithium-ion batteries. So this market is very much increased, huge demand, huge potentials for the secondary battery market, secondary lithium-ion battery market, especially lithium-ion battery market. Many programs have been introduced by several nations on energy storage. Next 20 years, 30 years, there is a great life for battery field. So I'm fortunate that I have some expertise on these battery technologies. So we had market for electronic, semiconducting market, maybe software market, nanotechnology. Last 10 years it was ruling, or continue to still rule. Now I think it's mostly battery technology, or maybe combined with the solar photovoltaic. Okay, huge potentials in terms of market benefits available with the secondary batteries. So when we have seen the primary batteries, we had some options. The prominent primary batteries are zinc carbon battery, are also known as dry cells. Then other special batteries are available, maybe lithium primary batteries, zinc air batteries, etc. Now in the case of secondary battery, we have good number of options. Lead acid battery, nickel cadmium battery, nickel iron battery, and nickel hydrate battery, or nickel metal hydrate battery, and lithium ion batteries. I would add lithium air battery, iron air battery, air batteries, lithium sulfur batteries, sodium ion batteries, magnesium ion batteries, calcium ion batteries, potassium ion batteries, I can add. They are also going to be viable battery technologies. We'll restrict to simplicity up to lithium ion batteries. We have countable number of battery technologies already available. Lead acid battery existing for 150 years. Nickel cadmium battery, nickel iron battery, nickel metal hydride batteries. Lead acid battery, we know straightforward. Nickel cadmium, nickel iron, nickel metal hydride batteries are the examples for secondary alkaline batteries. We know primary alkaline batteries, otherwise known as dry cells, zinc carbon battery or zinc manganese dioxide battery. Now we have same electrolyte. The components for anode and cathodes are different, and we have at least 3-4 viable battery technologies. I started with the camcorder with use of nickel cadmium and nickel metal hydride batteries 20 years before. But now the same camcorder embedded with the lithium ion batteries. Cylindrical batteries I had used. Not only I, not only me, all of you. Okay, so 20 years before. Nickel cadmium battery, nickel metal hydride battery. Now it has been replaced with your pouch cell lithium ion batteries or prismatic lithium ion batteries, or maybe sometimes cylindrical lithium ion battery also. You get much better running time for your camcorder. All these batteries have their own features, own merits and demerits. That's what we are going to look up in this unit. Components, how it functions, what are their merits and disadvantages. We will stop there. So let's take one first case, lead acid battery. This is the good old secondary batteries available in the market. I'm sure if I ask you to give the components of these secondary batteries straightforward, you will be able to tell. We have enough seen. Lead acid battery uses lead as an anode, lead dioxide as a cathode, a sulfuric acid 5 to 6 mole concentration of sulfuric acid is the electrolyte. Widely used battery technology. 100% recyclable battery technology on the earth. 100% recycled. It has become a small industry. Recycling of this lead acid battery has become a small industry. Maybe it is done in a small industries also. What are their features? It delivers to voltage, nominal voltage, uses sulfuric acid as an electrolyte, lead as an anode, lead dioxide as a cathode, and it is rechargeable. And we have flexibility, maintenance-free battery, maintenance requiring battery, tubular battery, flat plate batteries. I will not go into the details of those terminologies. That is not the focus of this course. The next year, next semester, we will be seeing say exclusively tubular battery. What are the characteristics? How will you fabricate? What are the performance? What are the flat plate batteries? What are the functions? How will you construct? What are their performances? Next course it will be taught next semester. Now we will restrict only the flavor of these secondary batteries, lead acid batteries. What is the anode reaction? Lead is getting oxidized. Metallic lead is releasing 2 electrons and it is oxidized to lead 2 plus at a potential 0.35 voltage. What is the cathode reaction? Reduction take place. Cathode is PbO2. When you assemble lead acid battery, you assemble with a PbO2. And the lead is in 4 plus state. And those electrons released by the lead electrode anode is picked by this lead dioxide and get reduced to lead 2 plus. Okay. And this reduction occurs at 1.68 voltage. And your electrolyte is sulfuric acid. When I say lead is oxidized, Pb2 plus cannot be ideal as Pb2 plus because this is charged species, positively charged species. It picks up negatively charged ions. In the case of lead acid battery, picks up a sulfate ion, SO4 2 minus, and becomes neutrally stable molecule. PbSO4 is deposited or formed on the electrodes. Similarly, so Pb4 plus in the form of PbO2. PbO2 is a solid, Pb is a solid, and PbSO4 is also solid. So in the case of cathode, Pb4 plus gets a 2 electron, then reduce it to Pb2 plus. Again, Pb2 plus charged species, positively charged species, it will require negatively charged ion to be stable. So gets the sulfate ion from the electrolyte and forms lead sulfate. Both at the anode as well as the cathode, during charging, it forms lead sulfate. Both the electrodes are coated with the lead sulfate. Two sulfates are formed in the two electrodes, or double sulfates are formed, and the mechanism is known as double sulfate formation mechanism. The mechanism operative in lead acid battery is known as double sulfate formation. This is one of the typical competitive exam question. What is the overall reaction? Pb plus PbO2 plus 2H2SO4 giving rise to PbSO4 plus H2. Overall cell reaction. Overall cell reaction. Both the electrodes are converted into lead sulfate. So whenever you use this lead acid battery, you need to be cautious about overcharging, liberation of oxygen and hydrogen, or sometimes explosion of the batteries. Upon overcharging, overcharging will definitely lead to decomposition of the electrolyte. What is the electrolyte? Water, sulfuric acid in water. 5 to 6 moles of sulfuric acid concentration definitely has the water. If more potentials are applied, it will accelerate this, the water decomposition. So decomposition of water or the oxidation of water will release oxygen and hydrogen. And if too much concentration of volume of hydrogen and oxygen are released, are generated by the decomposition of the electrolyte water, what will happen? So it might lead to explosion or evaluation of the oxygen and hydrogen gases from the batteries. This is possible in the case of maintenance requiring batteries or flooded lead acid battery. These days we have a modern lead acid batteries, maintenance free battery, VRLA, valve regulated lead acid battery, etc. So those aspects has been taken. Let's see how it is working. Lead acid batteries, how lead acid battery is working. It looks very simple. You have a lead and lead dioxide and sulfuric acid electrolyte. When you charge it, it is getting converted into lead sulfate. Looks simple. How it happens? This is how it happens. Let's focus on charging. We have a negative plate or anode coated with lead. We have a positive plate coated with lead dioxide. And we have a sulfuric acid, H2SO4. Some concentration, 5 moles of sulfuric acid concentration. So sulfuric acid is an acid. It can dissociate into H plus and sulfate. H2SO4 can decompose into H2H plus plus SO4 2 minus. So it liberates H plus and SO4 2 minus ions. These are all ions and they have high reactivity. These formed sulfate will go under H corrosion, H this lead, which is having zero charge now. Upon etching, so or corrosion is an oxidation process. Lead will lose 2 electrons, become lead 2 plus. So this is in solid, and this electrolyte in the liquid. and they get dissociated and produce highly active sulfate molecules and H plus. These sulfate molecules Hs the solid lead, makes solid lead to undergo oxidation. How? By releasing two electrons. Now in the solution we have at the interface we have Pb2 plus and sulfate 2 minus ion, and they both combine because one is positive charge, another one is negative charge. They make a good bonding. A solid lead sulfate is formed at the anode. Initially it was lead, now it is converted into PbSO4 on charging. Let's see how or what happens at cathode. We have at cathode PbO2 solid. Then the electrolyte is sulfuric acid, which dissociates, releases the reactive ions SO4 2 minus, and this SO4 2 minus is so reactive, and Hs again this PbSO4 solid, where the Pb is already in 4 plus state. When it Hs, then the electron released from the negative electrode will reach at the cathode. Now we have Pb4 plus, SO4 2 plus, SO4 2 minus plus 2 electrons. SO4 2 minus cannot take up these negatively charged electrons, but Pb4 plus can accept or take up those negatively charged electrons. Negative electron means negative charge only. There is nothing called positively charged electrons, as you know. Pb4 plus having positive charge will attract these negatively charged electrons and become 2 electrons are released, right? Pb4 plus will become Pb2 plus. And in the solution, already in the solution we have a SO4 2 minus. Once this state is arrived, it is similar to the case that we see at the cathode anode compartment. Pb4 plus and SO4 2 minus. One is negative charge, another one is positive charge, and they become making a bond and they become solid lead sulfate, forming on the positive electrode or cathode. Already we have seen at the anode there is a formation of lead sulfate at the anode during charge. Similarly, now lead sulfate is also forming at the cathode. In both the electrodes, lead sulfates are formed. That's why it is called double sulfate formation. This occurs during the charging. Okay, so when it occurs, the potential will increase little over 2 voltage, 2.4, 2.8, etc. Once you disconnect the charging current from the grid to the batteries, so it will, after releasing this apparent resistance and all, it will stay at about 2.0 voltage. Now the battery is equipped with the state of charge 100%. If you try to measure the potential, it will show a single lead acid battery will show 2 voltage. Or if you try to measure the density, you will read very high density, 1.4 or 1.3 as the electrolyte density. That's one of the indicators whether the battery is charged or not. That's the charged state. So opposite occurs during discharging. Now both the electrodes are having, let's see, you are discharging the lead acid battery, which is already having a state of charge 100%. You have discharged product, charged product, lead sulfate, PbSO4, PbSO4. PbSO4 and PbSO4. You are discharging the capacity or the energy density or current. What should happen? First, these lead sulfate should undergo dissolution. How it can be facilitated? We have a water. Earlier we had sulfuric acid. Now all the sulfuric acids are consumed and became sulfates. We have more of water. Still there is some conductivity. of course. Otherwise, it is not possible to discharge it. So we have a water, and these are all salt. PbSO4 is a salt. You remember that all the most of the salts, inorganic salts, are soluble in water. It will undergo dissolution. What do I mean by dissolution? It will decompose or dissolve into water, releasing Pb2 plus and SO4 2 minus. We have this condition, Pb2 plus SO4 2 minus, and water will have H plus and OH minus, etc. And at the positive electrode, we have similar Pb2 plus and sulfate 2 minus ion. And this is discharging. This is discharging. One electrode will be supplied with the current, another electrode will be depletion of the current. Okay. So when you supply the current or electron, these are at the negative electrode or anode. These two electrons will be picked by the Pb2 plus ion. How? That will travel through the cathode compartment. Cathode compartment. Pb2 plus is here in the cathode. It releases or loses 2 electrons. So when Pb2 plus loses 2 electrons, it will become Pb4 plus. Those electrons travel through the circuit back, through the circuit, will be picked by this Pb2 plus and will become solid Pb. Will become solid Pb. So now we have Pb4 plus at the cathode. Already we have water and sulfate ions. Those combine and become PbO2. So we are back to the initial stage. This is what we started with during the charging. Pb and PbO2. And this is to the maximum extent reversible. To the maximum extent, provided if you stop the discharging, depth of discharge up to 80%, you can do back and forth this kind of charging and discharging, converting into lead sulfate and converting into lead sulfate into lead dioxide. At least 500 to 600 times you can do this kind of charging and discharging. So it means during that time, it can power the electronics or maybe your UPS or any other suitable devices. It looks simple, but these many chemical reactions or steps are taking place. Steps are taking place. So we use in SLI battery here 12 voltage battery. As you see, it is made up of lead acid battery. Uses 6 such single cells grouped in series, and you get 12 voltage. And this 12 voltage is used to ignite the combustion in IC engines, maybe starting the lighting. Once the lighting is taken, then a dynamo or dynamo, right? That takes care of the powering, the light. Okay, so very much used in all automobiles, from 3-wheeler to 4-wheeler to higher wheelers. Maybe this typically 12 voltage, maybe sometimes some cases larger voltage. So these are the features very much used in automobiles, IC engines, and the emergency light, and sometimes golf cart or airport electric vehicles, etc. 100% recyclable. The technology for this recycling of lead acid battery has already evolved. You can reuse it maybe after processing it. There are valuable components on recycling you get from lead acid battery. Maybe with other batteries also. Grid, materials, electrolyte, cases, all components of lead acid battery are recyclable. Tricycle. Indoor golf carts, passenger carts in airport, wheelchairs are equipped with lead acid battery. 10 years before we had this vehicle in Pondicherry University campus, there were two vehicles. It used to run through the campus, taking the people for every half an hour, shuttling between the Silver Jubilee campus. Those who have visited the Pondicherry University would know. I know many of you have not visited, but those who have visited, Silver Jubilee campus about a kilometer or so. So, and there are quarters and main building. It was running, it was shuttling every half an hour. It will come to that one point. Okay, so it was there, but due to poor maintenance, it has been abandoned now. Professor, good morning. Yes, please. Okay. Sorry, there were some interruptions. I think we'll stop now. Okay. We'll continue more in the next class.